Feminism ideology. The table of content, we have definition, history, implication, case study, formulation, and survey. So let's know about the definition of feminism. In general, feminism is belief in gender equality in social, economic, and political matters. So, do you know what is happened in medieval Europe? Firstly, the woman were forbidden the right to own property, study, and participate in public life. Then in Germany, a husband could still sell his wife's possessions, while in France, women still forced to cover their hand in public toward the end of the 19th century. And lastly, as late as the early 20th century, women could neither vote nor hold elective office in Europe and in most of the US. History of feminism.
History of feminism have three waves. First wave is in early 20th century, which refers principally to the women's right to vote movement, mainly involved with women's right to vote. Second wave is in 1960-1970. It refers to the ideas and action related to the women liberation movement, which campaign for legal social rights for women. Then for the third wave is happened in 1990 until now. It refers to a continuation of and a reaction to the perceived failures of second wave.
Implication of feminism is divided into four sections, which is education, social, politics, and economy. The first implication in education is many feminists believe that women are being suppressed by a male-dominated society, both in education and also in later life. And secondly, is feminists have shown that the so-called natural feminism differences between men and women are not true. And next is feminists have helped transform many of our assumptions on gender in education system. And lastly is women put that job and career were top of the list for girls, with marriages and children at the bottom nowadays.
Social of feminism. The implication of feminism toward social. Firstly, the social feminism may be a women's lib that advocates for social rights and special accommodation for women. Its absolutely was initial was not to describe members of the women movement within the late 19th and early 20th century who were involved with the social issues that affected women and children. Then the phrase socialist feminism was progressively used throughout the 17th to explain a mixed theoretical and sensible approach to achieving women's equality.
Implication of feminism to politics. So the first implication is increased women involvement in political world, because we can see that every country has women in their parliament. For example, we can see that women become a president in New Zealand. Next implication is the simple assertion by feminists that women have rights that has to be covered has created a massive effect in global politics and furnish a place to begin for women to impeach and regulate the principle and norm that governs them. And lastly is quantity of girls in position of power is increasing, about changes in legislation and public opinion.
Now we want to see the implication of feminism in the economic system. Firstly, the women's economic empowerment is central to realizing women's rights and gender equality. Secondly, empowering women in the economy and closing gender gaps in the world of work are key to achieving 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. Thirdly, when more women work, economics will grow. For example, increasing the female employment rates in OECD countries, for instance, Sweden system. Lastly is women's economic equality is good for business. It is because companies greatly benefit from increasing employment and leadership opportunities for women.
Case study. Lately, many cases of sexual harassment, domestic violence and rapes. This news we can see a lot on social media, newspapers and news. Most victims are afraid to come forward to voice what they are going through due to the perspective of society, which will argue that all this is of the victim's own will and fault. As such, women should not be treated in this way because they also have the right to defend themselves. In addition, there are also victims who suffer from this since childhood who are treated by their own family members. Formulation. So, for the formulation, we are able to elevate women to the world stage. Next, feminism helps women a lot in voicing opinions and upholding justice in the problems they have experienced. Then, every woman cannot remain silent if persecuted by men because it will make it easier for them to express their opinion and their problems can be taken into account. Lastly, among the reasons this ideology is rejected is because they support LGBT and also some ideologies that contradict Islam. Survey among Malaysian society on feminism ideology. They know about feminism ideology from many sources such as social media, internet, article, magazine and news. Most of them knows about this ideology from internet. This is because internet has been widely used around the world. 78.6% of people think that feminism ideology is necessary in our country because women can voice out their problems and they think that women also have the rights to voice out their problems. Next, the respondents said that every party should take the sexual harassment, domestic violence and rapes issues seriously. Some of respondents also said that to encourage the victim to make a police report and medical checkup as their proof if face some problems regarding the sexual harassment, domestic violence and rapes.